So, we hear from Jaden Franson, the deputy leader of Britain First, that the Quran is a violent book, that Islam is a violent religion, because in the Quran there's a verse about killing Jews. Now, I don't really want to sit down and debate with Jaden Franson or the other guy, Tommy Robinson, whatever his name is. But I'd like to say this. I've not read the Quran, so I don't know. I've got a copy here. I've never read it. It's on my bookshelf. But I have read the Bible. I've read it a lot, repeatedly. At one point, way back in my life, I was training for the ministry. And I know that in the Bible, there is a multitude of verses of violence. Let me read one to you that God specifically commanded his people, the Israelites, known as at that time. He says, "Now go, attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men, women, children, babies, cattle, sheep, camels, and donkeys." So God sends his army, led by King Saul, speaking through his prophet Samuel, to kill everything, complete genocide, even babies, of his enemies, the Amalekites. And then when they don't, he gets really annoyed. And there's a famous verse in the Bible. He said, "Obedience is better than sacrifice." This is the prophet Samuel. Obedience is better than sacrifice. And he was angry because the Israelites, God's people, hadn't slaughtered all the people and all the cows and cattle. And for example, they spared the life of the enemy king. So the prophet of God, Samuel, says, "Bring him to me." And he took the king's sword and he hacked the enemy king to pieces in front of the whole of God's people. That's just one example. And the Amalekites, by the way, basically the Philistines, or the Palestinians, as we call them today. Now Joshua, we all know the story of Jericho. People walked around and around the city blowing their trumpets, 6 days or something, and then the walls came down. Well, God said through Joshua, who's his prophet, he said, "Now the city shall be doomed by the Lord to destruction, it and all who are in it. Only Rahab the harlot shall live, she and all who are with her in the house, because she hid the messengers that we sent." And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, ox and sheep and donkey, with the edge of the sword. So again, God send them into a city, kill everything, even the babies. And this Rahab the harlot, she was a prostitute, a sex worker, who was collaborating with the Israelites. She was kind of on their side, so she had her life saved. Apart from that, complete genocide. Now in Deuteronomy chapter 20, when God was setting up his people to be formed as his people, he gave them this is very early on in the Bible, in the first 5 books of that's called the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of Moses. God says, "But you shall devote them to complete destruction, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, as your Lord has commanded." These are basically the people, these again are the Palestinians. These are the people, all the different groups, all the different kingdoms, the small kingdoms, that live in what we call Palestine today. Excuse me. And God was giving not just permission, God was giving a command to what are now the Jewish people to go and kill all the Palestinians. And even in the New Testament, even when Jesus is giving a parable in Luke chapter 19, verse 27, Jesus, who's all about, mercy and is all about compassion. But Jesus says in his parable, "But as for these enemies of mine who did not want me to reign over them, bring them here and slaughter them before me." What's my point? My point is, I don't know about the Quran. I've not read it. But this Friedan Jensen woman, I've forgotten her name now, she quotes a verse about killing a Jew or something hiding behind a bush in the Quran and says that proves that Islam is a religion of violence. Well, I've quoted to you some verses. There's more, by the way. I've quoted to you some verses of genocide and merciless murder in the Bible. Does that mean that Christianity is a religion of violence? No, it doesn't. Because we don't follow every single bit of what it says in the Bible. If you're a Christian, lots of people aren't. But Christians don't follow every single verse in the Bible and go around slaughtering people on a daily basis, right? It's a case of seeing this context and behaving as in the 21st century. Now, this is what the Muslims say about the Quran. They say, well, there might be verses in the Quran, or one verse in the Quran, that talks about murder, or talks about killing. But that's not, Islam means peace. That's what the word means. So you know, we're a religion of peace. We don't want to follow that verse and go around killing people or killing Jews. Same with the Bible. Okay? All right, peace out.